Welcome into the first edition of the Buffalo Lowdown podcast. We're starting, right on time, mid-season. Less games left to play than there are on the schedule. But I'm Joe Cali, joined by Justin Siejak. We're starting this out middle of the season, and what better time than when the Bills are at the absolute bottom of the garbage can, right? They're losing to the Miami Dolphins in dominant fashion. The Dolphins came out and had a hell of a game plan against the Buffalo Bills. We're going to be doing this pretty much every week. We're going to try to, and we're going to do a beginning of the week, and then we'll do a picks episode, kind of look around the NFL. And especially now as the playoffs are coming, a lot of games are going to matter. So this is going to be really interesting as things come to the close here. The Buccaneers game for the Patriots was pretty big. Did not go in our favor, but we'll talk about that later this week. Right now, we've got to get into this because I feel like it's just such a bog on the day, and with all due respect, because you should not be having this kind of a performance against the Miami Dolphins that were 2-7, now 3-7, and you're now 6-3. What were your initial thoughts, Justin? I was lifeless. I like what the team looked like. I was lifeless. I just couldn't believe it.
I mean, like we were talking a little bit before the episode started, it's like, man, we're due for one of these losses every year, but against the 2-8 Dolphins? It's just so puzzling to me. The Bills have been a more physical team all year long, more talented team all year long. And yet here we are where the Dolphins trounced the Bills 30-13. And it's like, just what happened? And it seems like almost everything went wrong.
Yeah, it's insane. But the Dolphins do always kind of play the Bills tough. Yeah. Even earlier this season, it was like 21-21, and a roughing the punter, roughing the kicker, whatever it was gave the Bills a second life. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it happened in multiple games. It's just, this team just feels so uninspired, and they looked it on the field. And we are going to get it. There are some positives to take away. We're not going to be all doom and gloom, but it's just the doom and gloom. The storm is like right in front of our faces with a whiteout rainfall, whiteout snow, since that's actually happening in front of our eyes. Yeah. But like, they just look so uninspired. I couldn't quite put my foot on what exactly was going on. And then you turn to the Patriots game and you see Diggs, Vrabel hyping up the team, all this stuff. And there's just none of that on the Bills sideline anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and also kind of just to pivot for a second there, I cannot believe 31-year-old Stephon Diggs is doing this coming off of an ACL injury. He looks
an ACL.
It's insane. Mike Vrabel was the guy for them when we're seeing it. And they look like a good team throughout the first half of the season. And now you kind of see them use their younger guys like Kyle Williams and Travion Henderson, which makes it even a little bit scarier. So second game against the Patriots is going to be a big one.
It's going to be a big one. And it's so disheartening for that team to be not the thorn in the Bills' side, the boulder in front of them for like 20 years, our entire lives pretty much. And to finally be on the other end of that and putting them down where they should be, to them now reclaiming the top spot. Not really a great feeling, but I guess on the bright side, if you do look back, and I was looking at this earlier today because I was intrigued by it. If you look back at the 2002 Patriots, right? Everybody's doom and gloom, like, oh, we might not get the 1 seed. Doom and gloom. The 2002 Patriots did not get the 1 seed. They didn't have the 1 seed in the AFC East. The Dolphins, I think, took that over from them, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then what did they do in 2003? They go to the Super Bowl and beat the Carolina Panthers, right? So, the Bills, I'm not going to try and justify the bad season because I don't think they should be having it. I think there are roster concerns in my mind and everything like that they should have been handling and should have been handled before the deadline to keep that from happening. But if it happens, the team probably won't get sold because they're looking at it as a 1-year fluke based on 5-6 years of sample size now where this has never happened before. So, I don't know. And just getting into those thoughts, roster construction wise, to hear what we heard going into this game, that Jalen Waddle was almost a Buffalo Bill, right? And it was at the finish line, except they wanted a 2026 first round pick rather than a 2027 first round pick. I can't fathom not doing that. I really can't. It's the most frustrating thing. What do you think? I'm baffled.
He would have been the perfect addition to the Bills offense. A first and a third is a lot for a player like that who hasn't been this all-world kind of guy, but he's been a steady, good receiver since entering the league. They just signed him to a 4-year, $100 million extension, so you got to know that money's coming with it. But for that first and third round pick, if you do make that in 2026, I'd be willing to bet the Dolphins are going to eat some of that salary to make it easier on the Bills' end, which would have been nice. You'd like to see Bean take that swing there. I almost wonder if Josh is in his ear here, like, come on, man, how do we not get to the finish line on anything? Because, we're seeing the product as it is, probably 2 or 3 weeks in a row now, the passing game. No one's open. No one's open, and now you've got Dalton Kincaid out for potentially 3 weeks or more with a hamstring injury. And folks, it's scary. You want to lean on James Cook? How much can you? They stopped the run yesterday. When you put your whole defense towards that, now you're just one-dimensional and it's too predictable.
Exactly. And that's the craziest thing. We're sitting here talking about a team with an MVP at quarterback, and the thing that they can take away and cause you to fail is the run game. The passing game with an MVP quarterback can't get off the ground because of the guys you have on the field. And I get it. Khalil Shakir was great last season. He's a big reason everybody eats, right? That was the whole thing, and he was a big part of that. So was Mac Hollins, who's having a phenomenal year in New England, right? For the contract that he signed over there. I saw a 72-yard touchdown throw to him yesterday, and I was not, the heart started aching because that's a player you need on this team right now. If I were the Bills, I probably would have kept him, but hindsight's 2020, of course. You didn't know if he was going to do the same thing. I just look at this roster as a whole and hearing people say, I'm okay with the way the roster's built right now. The Bills don't need to add a wide receiver. And even I don't want to go back to this by any means, but what Brandon Beane said on GR over the summer, right? Score 30 points per game, all that stuff. And at the time, it seemed like, okay, like you have a point. Everybody eats worked last year. It's so predictable now, though. Whatever scheme Joe Brady's utilizing, it's not even everybody eats anymore. It's, I don't even know what to call it. Everybody's on a hunger strike except for Dalton Kincaid, and he gets a crumb, if that, right? Like it's just...
It's down the field, we'll find you.
Yeah, right. And they can't do it. Keon Coleman, I like Keon Coleman. I like his personality. He's had a rough season. Baltimore was a great game for him. It really was. It's gone all downhill since then, to the point where they're throwing their fourth-string nickel corner on him and saying, just don't cause pass interference and you're going to be fine. Because he's not about your receiver. What was his calling card in the draft process? The gauntlet drill.
Yeah, when he was coming out, he looked like this uber athletic guy who could go up and make every contested catch. You're not asking him to be this route runner, Devontae Adams kind of guy, because that's not his game. It never was in college, and it hasn't been in the pros either. A lot of guys were dead on with the evaluation there. I kind of had faith in Joe Brady to maximize his skill set, knowing that he's kind of limited. It hasn't happened yet. And now we're 2.5 seasons deep with the player and the coach marriage. It doesn't look good, and the returns elsewhere are way better. Ladd McConkey gets in the end zone last night. Xavier Worthy has looked steady for the Chiefs since being drafted. And it's like, wow, that is looking like a potentially, I don't want to say franchise-altering decision, but man, it was right there, and you swung and you missed so far. I'm not saying it's over on Keon Coleman. I believe he's 22 years old. But we got to see a flash at some point. I don't know how you end up with 117 yards in week 1, and we're struggling to get to 30 weekly. I just don't know.
It's not good. It's not good. If I were the Bills, I'm going to be honest with you, and this might sound crazy, I would have maybe been shopping him around with those picks for a big receiver in return. Not to move on from him, because like you said, he's 22. I think there is possible upside there, but we haven't seen it. We saw flashes of it. It's been a crumb, though. Like, you're not getting what you need from him. And I think that's where...
My question is, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
My question is, we saw all these positives during training camp and during the preseason, and the storyline was, Keon Coleman had another good day at camp. He got in the end zone multiple times, and he made a highlight catch. How are we in week, 11 or 12 now?
Going to 11, yeah.
Few and far between with Keon Coleman. A highlight play for him would be a 5-yard slant catch.
Right. It's a joke. I genuinely, I don't know where to go. Like, this offense is so, like you said, one-dimensional. The head coach is clearly dissatisfied, and for a lot of people going at Sean McDermott, I genuinely don't think this has anything to do with Sean McDermott. The fire McDermott wagon can miss me. I genuinely am not on that train. He's expressed distaste in the offense on multiple occasions this season, and like rumor has it, he's been the biggest voice to go get a wide receiver in that room, right? Like, it's just, I'm sorry. I don't want to fire the head coach. I don't want to fire anybody, because if you start tearing this organization down, that's where problems are going to start, because then you're going to have to fill in places, everything like that. The only thing you can move on from is a coordinator. right? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of realistically in my mind. That's
Even
what they
then,
have.
it's a tedious kind of change.
Yes, right. It's like Joe Brady coming in for Ken Dorsey. Like you don't want to do that again. You really don't want to fire anybody. You want to figure out how to make it work with this roster.
Absolutely.
It's just how with not making a move at the deadline. How this 30-13 victory for the Dolphins doesn't happen if you add an X receiver who can add an extra dimension. Because then if they call out the run and they stop it, you have an X factor on your passing attack that you can neutralize that. Then they won't sell out against the run. They're not going to know what you're doing. Then you'll look like the Bills of last year. I just don't really know what to expect here. I don't.
It's so odd because, the high draft capital that was Dalton Kincaid, you expect him to be this volume guy for Josh Allen. And he is. He is when he's on the field. The catalyst with his career has just been staying healthy and remaining big enough to remain on the field and run sets. And it looked good while he's healthy in 2025, but here we are. He's back on, the injury report with the hamstring injury. And, it's unfortunate because who can call that? But here we are now where it's a gutted receiver room. You get Josh Palmer back next week, who maybe can provide a spark. He's your man coverage beater. I think he's had a few 60-yard games, which is fine. But Josh Allen is your quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's so, I hate to keep saying it. It's just demoralizing as a fan, right? As someone who covers the team and has to watch these games. It's just like, what are we watching? What are we signing up for? And I guess this is just to be funny. I don't actually think this is going to be happening. But Brian Daboll has been fired from the New York Giants, right? Do you bring him in as an offensive assistant to try and bring a little juice? Like, yeah, he doesn't have to take the job from Joe Brady necessarily, right? You don't have to do that. But like, does that bring a little juice to the organization? I don't know. I'd try anything if I were the Bills. Hey, we'll give you a couple $100,000 for the rest of the season. Then you can figure it out from there, but just come down here for a little bit. I'd try anything. You need to try something to shake the vibes up. You do.
Getting a guy in to get a new voice in the room would be big for the Bills, because I just think whatever they're rocking with right now just simply is not working. Maybe week to week it can work, but it's the NFL, and week to week doesn't work. So when you look at the Chiefs game, and they dominate offensively and they look capable on defense, and you walk into Miami the very next week, who's, fighting for that number one first overall pick, and you put up that performance, something has to change. And I don't know how much there is you can do now, because the free agent market isn't, all rainbows and sunshine. I think DJ Chark, who's 29 years old, is one of your top options. And he's, a one-dimensional guy. He's a speed threat. But that is what the Bills need. Teams are not afraid of the Bills downfield. They're bringing their safeties up. They're putting extra defenders in the box. You see yesterday with Miami, Jordan Brooks was all over the field for Miami. He's one of the best linebackers in the NFL. And because we couldn't get anything going in the pass game, he played the run game the whole game, and he had multiple tackles for loss. So, it's I don't know what the answer is, but you do have to try something, because whatever's working right now is painful to watch.
Yeah, painful is an understatement. I think it's such a departure from what we're used to seeing on the field. I'm at a loss for words in trying to say it without sounding like a fan in a way, because there's really no other way to say it than it's terrible on the eyes. It's just terrible in general. So where do they go from here? Like you said, what free agent wide receiver can you even add? Amari Cooper off the couch, maybe like that. Are we going to go there?
He's retired.
He's retired. Right. So listen, he's not on a team, but anyway, you can also look at, like someone mentioned today, OBJ. He's got a suspension he'd have to serve out if he was added to a roster. So, like, he's a non-option. You have to make it work with who's in the room. Can they do that? With Kincaid healthy, I would have said yes. Now he's out for 4 weeks. So, like, maybe, possibly 4 weeks, whatever it ends up being. But now do I say that? I don't know. Could the Bills miss the playoffs?
I feel like...
I don't want to be the loud guy in the room, but, like, something could happen.
I think it's premature to have that conversation, but they're well on their way to having a skid to making that very possible. They've got a few tough games coming up. You still got the Eagles. You still got the Buccaneers, who, gave a great game to the Patriots yesterday. That's one of the best teams in the NFL as we speak. So, there's tough games coming up. I don't know if it's the Bills playing down to their competition, or if they're going to play up to their competition. It kind of seems like they do a little bit of both. But they're going to be tested here, and they're going to have to be in their P's and Q's. It reminds me of, I can't remember which season it was, a few seasons back, where the Bills had to go on that run. They defeated Miami at the end of the season to steal the division. It kind of feels reminiscent of that. I don't know if it's in the cards, though, because the Patriots are on a roll. So, you kind of have to bank on them taking a fall, but the Bills put themselves in this position. Now you find yourself week 11, 6-3. You're going to be fighting for a wild card likely. Uh, and I don't know. They signed up for this. They did.
Yeah, I have such a difficult time with how to phrase my distaste because truthfully, at this point, it's a roster construction issue. And we need to look back on past drafts because that's where the breadcrumbs are leading to, right? Like
Sure. Yeah.
who is hit, who is not, right? Like Allen,
It's
I'm sorry.
a lot.
It's not a lot. Allen, I'm taking out of the equation because truthfully, that's the one thing we can really hang our hats on and be like, okay, Deion Walker and Cole Bishop, that might work. Keon Coleman, that's a bust. Kyer Elam, that's a bust. Like you could go back and look at more busts. And truthfully, you need to trade up for a wide receiver. Then you wouldn't be in this position. You need to trade for
the year they drafted Keon Coleman. I thought they were going to move up for Rome Odunze, and here he is scoring touchdowns left and right for the Chicago Bears. It's almost like someone could have called it.
Right, exactly. And the one position they have not traded up for ever, a wide receiver. They traded up for Deion Walker. They traded up for Kyer Elam. They traded up for Josh Allen. They traded up for others as well. Brandon Beane has never taken a shot on a wide receiver in a draft. And I don't know if it's because he doesn't think they can hit or what. In the first round, I should say. He's taking a shot on Keon Coleman. But like first round, high pick, have not taken a shot on a wide receiver. You know what that does? That prevents you from being cap strapped because you can use young talent instead of having to go out and catch an Amari Cooper on a contract or a Jalen Waddle trying to figure out where you're going to have to pay him. It's a lack of roster construction and development on the offensive side of the football. I'm all for investing in the defense because I think you have to. Defense wins championships. I'm still a firm believer in that. You have a good defense, you could shut down any good offense. But it's too defensive and too many misses on defense. That's where the problem is. If Kyer Elam hit, boom, I'm all in. But guess what? Christian Benford, who's in the same draft, but in the 7th round, hits as a better pick than Kyer Elam does. Like, it's mind-boggling to me looking back. And that's where everybody defends Brandon Beane. And I think he's an okay GM. I think he's okay at running the team. I'm not saying fire him. We need to stop acting like he's this draft genius and he's able to find these guys because he's not doing it. And okay, 30 points per game 2 seasons ago and last season's cute and all. They're scoring less than that this season.
Hang the banner.
Hang it. 30 PPG 2 seasons ago and last season. That's awesome. But also, and I put a tweet out about this a couple weeks ago, and then we can start moving into the positives. I don't want to keep dwelling on all this stuff. Are we confident Joe Brady would even properly utilize an X receiver, right?
No.
And that popped, right? So that went crazy because nobody thinks so. Everybody's in the camp of, no, remember what happened to Stephon Diggs? He became a non-factor. Everybody eats. He lost his touches. What happened to, who is it? Gabe Davis, who's currently on the roster. He became a blocker, right? Like that's the thing. And even Amari Cooper, I don't think he was properly utilized, and he was older and probably on the way out. Don't get me wrong. It's a very different situation, but you could have seen more out of Amari Cooper, I think, if utilized properly as a true X receiver. And you're looking at Elijah Moore, who's got downfield talent. You're looking at Curtis Samuel, who could be utilized on the boundary and downfield. They're not using them. Shavers, exactly.
Someone who can move, who can just go.
What happened? Remember the one big play that really got Tyrell Shavers' name in everyone's minds? Yeah, it was Mitch Trubisky, but where was it? It was right down the field on a strike to the end zone. Like, the scheme needs to update and the scheme needs to change. I just don't know if Joe Brady's going to do it. It's an offensive stubbornness for whatever reason. What's a better word for it? I'm trying to think.
Stagnant?
Offensive. What'd you say?
Stagnancy. It's just like it's
stagnancy.
Sporadic. You don't know when it's going to be a good. You hold your breath, saying, "Oh, maybe the Bills can move the ball through the air today." Well, maybe they don't. You can't ask that question every weekend with Josh Allen at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who has had the best success with Josh Allen did just get fired. So who knows what happens there? I tend to believe. Maybe that doesn't happen, but it would be fun to get him in the room, get him in his ear, try to ramp him up a little bit. It almost seems like Josh is having a little bit of confidence issues this year, which is something we haven't seen.
No, and I don't think it's confidence within himself. I think it's confidence within the offensive scheme more than anything. Yeah. He doesn't trust anybody around him.
Right.
Like how are you going to throw to Keon Coleman on the boundary if you don't trust him? You can't. They're only sending Keon Coleman
to what Keon Coleman's completion percentage is when Josh Allen throws in the ball, because it is extraordinarily low. And it's so crazy that you drafted this guy in the second round to be one of his best pals besides Dalton Kincaid and James Cook, and it just hasn't panned out. And kind of going back to that roster construction kind of thing for just a moment, because I know we want to get into positives. Even when you look at Keon Coleman, who was drafted with the first pick in the second round, take him out of the equation. Who is the Bills' highest drafted wide receiver since Josh Allen has been here?
That's a good question. It would be Coleman, right? Yeah.
And then take him out of the equation. Who would it be? Is it Gabe Davis?
Right. Take him out.
Is it Gabe Davis?
It would be Gabe Davis. I think it would be. And that's a problem.
A third contract in the NFL, bouncing around. Obviously injuries do play a deal. I think Gabe Davis can actually play a decent role for the Bills down the field. That's what they need. Blocking in the run game, he's really good. But he's going to be the savior.
Right. And that's the joke is like, the deadline move's going to be Gabe Davis or whatever, right? Like that's what they're going to say. But realistically, I could see Keon Coleman getting healthy scratch. If Josh Palmer becomes healthy, if Gabe Davis starts playing well, doing what Coleman does on the boundary and blocking. And then you also have Shavers. Shavers has special teams upside. I'm sorry. The lone factor in that equation is Keon Coleman, and he's a healthy scratch. But here's a fun stat for you. Ready for this? From yards per pass on Twitter. This is going to be interesting. Receiving games in 2025 of over 61 yards by Bills players not named Kincaid or Shakir. Who? Keon Coleman in week 1.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the only game.
And that's the list. No other receiver. And Shakir's getting fed screens, so it's really just Kincaid. Shakir's just getting yak. It's not like we're air yards wise, it's only Kincaid. This offense is a shell of what it used to be. Yeah. It's ridiculous. I just can't, I cannot wrap my head around how far south this has gone, but it's abysmal. And we are going to get into positives. We keep saying it, but there is a good chance Coleman does end up a healthy scratch. I hate to say it, but it's true.
He's really just out there doing cardio. It's funny because he leads the Bills in routes ran at wide receiver, which is crazy to me.
They're just sending them down the boundary and hoping for the best. Draw pass interference, Keon. That's all they're asking for. The Joe Brady route tree is just curls and comebacks. There's no downfield movement at all, other than Keon running for PI.
Even if you want to do all this cute stuff behind the line of scrimmage, there's no creativity. The end arounds are a staple in each game, and they never work. They never work. The little swing passes to Shakir, the screen passes, what are they good for, 3 or 4 yards? Okay, you set up a 2nd and 6, but then you run the ball and they stop it because they're not scared of a downfield attack, and then you're in third down again.
Right.
And you can't pass the ball.
Well, Justin, what did they start doing recently that everyone's been telling them to do, and what did they do last season and it worked like 70% of the time? Throw to the running backs.
I wish they would do it more. I really do.
They need to do it more. You need to get the play action back up. That's where you're best because they don't know whether you're running or you're going to be throwing it. Like you can utilize James Cook. One of his staples, I get he had drop issues early on the Bills. One of his staple points coming out of Georgia was
the mitts.
The mitts. He was a downfield passing threat as well as a running back. Like, why are we not tapping into any of that? I just don't understand. Ray Davis was a pass-catching running back last year. Ty Johnson was a pass-catching running back last year. We've seen him catch maybe 5 total collective passes all season. What are we doing? I don't know. Get it.
I don't know. There's, like you said, there's zero creativity out of the backfield as far as the passing game. The Ty Johnson thing is so puzzling to me. He was like a staple on third down last year. Even the playoff touchdown against the Broncos. The Hail Mary pass down the field where, he just scrapes it off the field in the back of the end zone. He was an impact player for the Bills last year, and he seems like the first man on the roster this year. So I
wonder if that's a money thing. Like, we paid James Cook. We gotta make sure he's the forefront of the running game. Where last season it was just the rotation, which was awesome because you never knew what they were doing. Right. I just think you look at Bijan Robinson on the Falcons and how he's lined up outside on third downs. That's what you need to be doing with James Cook and having Ty Johnson in the backfield to block. That's your third down play, and they don't do it. I don't understand. You said it. Lack of creativity. This is like staring at a white piece of paper without any writing, any color, anything on it. It is gross. And I digress. We're going to move into the positives because we could go on and on just about the entirety of this season and the lack thereof of offensive creativity. But just remember, last thing, if I were Allen, if I were Bean, if I were McDermott, if I were, maybe not Joe Brady, if I were any of those guys, the phone would be up to my ear right now, be like, Brian, what do we got to do? What do we got to do to get you down here? Jackson Dart, I get it. The Giants aren't great. They were blowing all those big leads they had, whatever. Dart offensively with Brian Dable, like that had a potential. I genuinely still think it had a potential.
One thing
what could Dable do to the Bills?
Dable is he knows how to use players. He knows how to maximize skill sets. And I genuinely don't believe Joe Brady does because we haven't seen it. Who's the most electric player on the Bills offense with the ball in their hands? It's James Cook. And the only time he has this ball in the hands is when he's taking it up the middle or he's taking a toss to the left. So, there's so much more to be unlocked. Buccaneers should be a shootout game, so maybe he gets in his bag a little bit there. But that's enough for now. Let's move into some good news.
We'll move into the positives. Like I said, we'll do another episode later this week, kind of previewing the Bucs game. We're going to try and see if we can figure it out to do it around where the where the injury reports are. So we're not like a day early and then someone's out. We said they were going to be the star player of the game, anything like that. But we'll work around that for sure. But yeah, positives. There are a couple to take away. There are some highlights from this game, believe it or not, even though it's all doom and gloom. And it's defensive players for the most part. And young players in a whole, I would say. Max Hairston, right? He made an impact in the Chiefs game. He has another big interception in this game. And honestly, that 54-yard big run from Devon Achane, he's on his heels. You see his speed captured, right? That's exactly what you drafted him for. Cole Bishop, another big one, right off the whip. That interception should have set you up to go down and score. Instead, your offense falls flat. But Cole Bishop out there making impacts week after week now. It's not just a 1 week thing. I think he's arrived. And then Jackson Hawes, of course. And I'll let you give your thoughts now. But those are the three players. And listen, to see young guys stepping up and doing that stuff, I couldn't be happier with. So if that's the one takeaway we have, I'm glad it's that, right? One positive takeaway.
If we're going to build off of that positive takeaway, those performances excite me for when the Bills defense is actually healthy, because these guys are legit playmakers on the ball. And I don't think the Bills have had, athletic guys like this in a long time in the secondary. Who's the last guy you could think of? Micah Hyde, younger Micah Hyde? Was he that dynamic? Hyde, yeah. Field? Someone who can just range the field. The two deep halves, that's what Taylor Rapp has been. He's been extremely versatile. It seems like everything is starting to click here in week 11 for Taylor Rapp. I said Taylor Rapp. Cole Bishop.
Yeah.
We're not seeing Taylor Rapp for the rest of the year.
Taylor Rapp's in the locker room, and it probably would have been anyway, even if he wasn't injured at this point. He was having a rough go.
It was not good for him either. And unfortunately, the injuries do happen. So, younger guys are called upon, and you see things like this against the Dolphins. Cole Bishop has been extremely good since last week. He's been all over the ball. I believe last week he had 1 TFL, 7 tackles, and an interception. This week he comes back, nabs another interception, has a few PBUs, and with Max Hairston too. I think he is the most dynamic corner that the Bills have had in a decade plus. He's a freak athlete. How many people on offense and defense, or no, hang on, let's stick on defense. How many players on defense can you say are genuine freaks of nature that the Bills have drafted?
None. Like legitimately none. In recent history, no. It's a very short list.
It's 3 for me. I'll tell you my 3 right now. Cole Bishop, who I think scored like a 9.9 on the RAS relative athletic score when he came out. Right. Freak athlete. He can move different. His leaping ability has been on showcase with the interceptions recently. It's been incredible. Max Hairston runs 4.2 at the combine. Yeah. And that's what they drafted him for, to run with guys like Waddle and Worthy, the guys who can burn over the top. He's been impressive. Another guy who's been impressive and kind of rounds out this list of athletic freaks in the Bills defense, Deion Walker. Big men are not supposed to move like that. No shot that he should be moving the way he is at 6'7", 360. So it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. No, honestly, when he got drafted, I think that was the most excited I was about a draft pick in a long time. Yeah. Seeing that playing weight was just, whoa, we're getting a big boy, because Daquan Jones, since the pectoral tear, hasn't really been what he was, right? And you think about it, when Ed Oliver's healthy, he and Deion Walker next to each other, what a combination that was for the brief moments we saw it, right? Like they were getting pressure, they were breaking through. It sets up the edge rushers too, Bosa. Like this Bills defense, when healthy, was the best it's been in recent history, I would say. Like this is the most stacked they've ever had up
I
front.
think so too.
Like that,
I think so too. And we don't have Landon Jackson or TJ Sanders healthy. So
right. And Michael Hoyt.
Michael Hoyt's out.
What a shame losing him. And then he tweets out like an absolute animal just at 4:40 in the morning. All defeat is psychological until death or something like that. I'll be back soon.
It's a warrior.
What a maniac. Like, that's awesome. Like, I'm so glad they signed him for multiple years because it makes me so excited to see his future. But like, this defense has a lot of skill players. And like you said, the young guys are the center of that right now.
Yeah. Can I add another young guy to that list as well?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cam Lewis is playing some damn good ball. And I'd argue that he's playing a little bit better than Taron Johnson here. Sorry if that's a hot take, but he is all over the ball. I think
big Cam Lewis believer. I'm a big Cam Lewis guy because he can play any position in that secondary and be more than serviceable. And yeah, it's not what you get from your starter, but guess what? He's not leaving you out to dry by any means. It's not like you're struggling. He was out there making the impact plays. He's a big reason the Bills were in it for so long against the Dolphins. Like, that game was winnable because of the defense, a tattered defense holding them to 16 points. They held them to under 20 points, and they dominate that offense. That defense dominated your offense. And your defense did their job, and the offense did not do their job. So that's why I'm okay with the defense, even in the state it is now. Because if the offense wakes up, they'll be able to outscore. I know that. Like, I'm not worried about the defensive stuff as all my stuff flies off my desk as I'm getting very animated here. But I do think there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's not all doom and gloom. Yes, it sucks to lose to the Dolphins. Yes, it sucks. This could be a potential in-division record thing if the Patriots, you know what I mean? Like this now has implications for the division and the 1 seed. Like, I'm kind of giving up on the 1 seed. I'm not there anymore. Like, you're just going to make the playoffs and you're going to have to play on the road. But Kansas City's done it. Have they not? Like, they went on that road playoff. That was the first road playoff stretch, and guess where they ended up? The big game, right? So, like, nothing's out of the cards. If they can figure some small things out on offense, if Joe Brady can maybe throw a couple creative plays out there, look at Ben Johnson. They're winning off of trick plays, right? Like, legitimately. So, I don't know. Just get more creative. Right. Like, it's so...
So that statement should be true.
Yeah. It's just so ridiculous. They have the same record, 6-3.
It's nuts. Like I said, the defense, big positive of the game. They kept them in as long as they could, and until A-Chan broke the long ones. But when this defense is healthy, because mind you, right now, what do we have? 2.5 healthy defensive ends. Joey Bosa with a claws on.
And Daquan Jones is playing. He hasn't played that since 2021 on the Titans. Yeah.
And it's just like, wow. I don't know what's going on. And McDermott kind of touched on it after the game. They got to flip the stone here and figure out why everybody's getting soft tissue injuries. Like, it's way too common this year. The IRs have been a list week after week after week. It sucks to see because it's a new strength and conditioning staff with Will Greenberg. And, you hope they can turn this around. I don't know if it's just misfortune, but it also seems they didn't show up ready to play in that Miami Heat yesterday. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And we're going to see what happens from here on out. But I'm all set. Do you have anything further to add here before we wrap up the first edition of the Buffalo Lowdown?
When we come back for the next episode, I hope it's a different conversation.
I hope so too. I hope our next game recap is a little bit more positive, rather than just the last 5 minutes of it. But we'll do what we can. It's a tough situation to be in because this Tampa game, after the way they played in Miami, I'm not feeling great about it. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens. The Bills show up as different teams every other week. So if they're able to get something going against Tampa and exploit some weaknesses, Tampa's no team to scoff at, even though New England beat them. But we'll preview that coming up later this week. And we'll have all of our Buffalo coverage. We'll get some guests on eventually too. Mm-hmm. And we'll be breaking down the Bills for the season, off-season, draft, everything you can imagine here on the Buffalo Down podcast. So without further ado, I'm Joe Cali. He's Justin Siejak. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you on Friday or whenever we do it.